it really comes down to like discipline. And I don't have that all the time. There are some times where I don't have the discipline, but it's about forcing myself to be in that position to write. Even if I don't feel like it, if I'm tired, if I force myself to sit down, if I force myself to open up my iPad and open up my book and start writing, I'll have a good writing day. Even if it's not the best writing day, I'll write something. If I don't sit down, I'm not going to write anything. So it's about that first decision. It's not about, oh, I can write this many words or oh, I can write this specific part of the story. It's just sitting down and writing something.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Author Adjacent, a show about the journey from hobbyist writer to professional author. I'm your host, Michael Vadney, and today I am sitting with an excellent guest, J Alex Giguere, author of the recently released Breaking. And welcome to the show, Alex.
There it is. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm glad I'm considered an excellent guest and I just joined. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
It's working out. So we just did this once already, but we had some snafu with the recording. But this time, I did not stumble at all over the last name. So I'm going to take that as a win, a sign that this is the proper recording.
I didn't even have to remind you. You got it all in one go. Way to go.
It's absolutely perfect. So to start us off, could you introduce yourself to the people and maybe introduce a little bit about your book and what your debut novel Breaking is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about myself, Alex Giguere, obviously a wannabe professional writer, as you so eloquently said, a hobbyist, enthusiastic at hobbyist to a professional, hopefully one day. I'm a father of two kids. I'm married, loving life, and everything is going well. But yeah, what the real reason probably why people are watching is to know a bit more about my book. So yeah, the book is Breaking, as Michael showed. It came out September 19th, and it is an epic fantasy novel. I know that epic fantasy can get a lot of people when they think epic fantasy, they automatically think a 400,000 word book or maybe in the realm of 300, something very chunky. This one is not quite as chunky, but it is still epic fantasy in nature, nevertheless. It comes in a little bit over 100,000 words, but the reason why it is still truly epic fantasy is because of the nature of the tale it gives. So it takes place in a certain story, certain aspect of my world, my universe I created called Fievna. Think of it as you will. I give the comparison of if you're trying to study World War II, and you might not be able to get a good glimpse of everything that happened in World War II, but maybe you would like to hone in on a story of maybe like Pearl Harbor or another famous battle, and you can know all the intricacies of that, the beginning, the ends, the characters. That's kind of what this book tells. There's definitely a bigger story going on around it, but for the sake of this story, it tells a complete tale with the main characters. Main characters are Tanlin, Sefiln, and Narrate, and they each kind of have their own different roles in the group. Sefiln, for instance, is kind of the keeper of the Zaeth, which is the life force of Fievna. It keeps everyone's spirit, their soul alive. At least that is what she believes that she is doing. And there ends up being a poison that kind of takes a hold of the Zaeth, and it affects people in different ways. As you kind of see the main characters go through the story, it affects them in different ways. And so they're set out on this adventure to try to figure out what in the world is going on, and tells their tale of in this little brief period of the history of my world on what's happening here.
Excellent. And I appreciate you keeping that spoiler free because I'm still halfway through it or a little over halfway. I've been enjoying it a lot. And there is a lot of world building into it. Like it is a very unique setting. So come back next week, folks. We will have Alex back on as we're going to be digging into world building in general and what he created in Breaking. But for this week, we're just going to be kind of just diving into you, your own journey, your writing process, pretty much whatever we feel like talking about for today.
Excellent. Sounds good. I'm always a mouthful, so I guess that's good, right? You always want someone on that can just talk and talk.
No,
Um,
that's a good thing to have at a guest. So
yeah, yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything in particular you want to know off the back, or do you want me to just ramble on?
Well, I'll hit you with the first question.
Let's go.
So, what inspired you to transition from being a fan of epic fantasy to writing epic fantasy and the indie publishing route for your novel?
Yeah, so gonna be a long answer, so I'll take my time with it.
Hit me.
switching from liking and enjoying epic fantasy to writing it was a very much a natural kind of part of my youth of being a kid. It wasn't a decision that I made or a switch that had to be like, manually turned on. As many people around my age, I'm 33. So I was 9 years old when I went to go see The Fellowship of the Ring in the movie theater for the first time. And I remember listening to the Hobbit cassette tapes before that, and my stepfather telling me a little bit about the Silmarillion. But being 9 years old and sitting in front of the big screen and watching like a 3.5 hour long movie that's just so well made. At that age, your imagination just takes you places you never thought possible. And I could not stop thinking about the movie. I wish that it didn't end. I wanted it to go on for hours and hours and days and days. And so I think just that natural desire to want to know more of the story kind of naturally creep into me wanting to tell my own stories. I didn't want stories to end. I wanted them to keep on going, which I guess might be good for epic fantasy because sometimes stories I've heard can keep going and going and going when maybe they should end. But hopefully I won't fall into that trap. So I think transitioning into writing was a pretty natural thing for me. And another thing that really pushed me over the edge was my father introducing me to The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant by Stephen Donaldson. That's very much a love it or hate it book. I loved it. And I think probably because I was introduced to it at an early age. So it has a lot of nostalgia for me. I do think that they are objectively, you can say, at least well written books. They're, known in the genre for being a decent fantasy read at the very least. And then just sharing that passion with my father. He told me to wait a few years to read it. I think I read it when I was 10 or so, which was maybe a little bit too young for me, but I got introduced to it anyway. And the one thing that Donaldson did, whether you dislike the books or like the books, is he created a very believable, realistic world. And every time I read Donaldson, I didn't feel like I was reading a story. I felt like I was meeting the characters around me, which just really inspired me to write my own characters. I wanted to make characters and worlds and people and stories that I could picture around me, that I could feel like that I live with and be involved with. So that plus a couple with Lord of the Rings, and then growing up on the Silmarillion itself and seeing this big universe be created and all the backstories to all the races and people, and it just fascinated me. So I think it was very much a natural desire of mine to write from a young age. My first stories were horrid. I can remember just like plagiarizing from books and just, I mean, it was just awful, but that's how you learn, right? I was 9 or 10 years old, and thank goodness for my father for encouraging me to continue on. He didn't put me down, didn't say hit the drawing board again. So that was very good. So yeah, so my desire to do that. And so all throughout high school was writing different stories and really kind of designing my world and universe the way I want to be, which I guess kind of leads us into your second part of the question about transitioning or wanting to go the indie publishing route versus the traditional publishing route. There's several reasons why I wanted to do that. One of the main ones was because I really wanted to have that creative control over my book from all aspects, from the story I wanted to tell, the characters. And it doesn't mean I don't take advice from my core readers. I changed a lot of stuff from the book that's in your hand right now. So I definitely take advice from those close to me very seriously. But in the end, I wanted to publish the book that I want to write. So creatively with my writing, and then also the book cover, I was able to get who I wanted to. Jeff Brown, just a fantastic, such a good
He's
job.
so good. Like, and he's every cover he does is just nails it.
Every book I see, and I know it's Jeff Brown too, yet every cover is different. I go, "That's a Jeff Brown cover." He's just good, and so I was able to work with him one-on-one, and I'm sure that depending on, which publisher you go through, maybe if you go the trad route, you have some say in everything, but I wanted the final say in all things, and so I'm a perfectionist, I like doing it myself, so that's one reason why I wanted to go that route, and just, other ways too, I mean, I wouldn't say I've heard horror stories, but I just feel like that, um, I feel like that there's just been times when authors have been wronged, whether it's through the big marketplaces, whether it's through trad publishers, and so on and so forth. And I don't know, it just feels like it's kind of a weird way that no one would say this 15 years ago, but almost going the independent way is a safer bet than the trad way. And that maybe that's backwards, but it almost makes sense to me in my mind doing it that way. So that's kind of the trend of why I wanted to go that route. Of course, I always had lofty dreams. I've read Stephen King's book on writing, and one of my favorite parts in that book is when he gets the call that he got, it sounded like a $400,000 book deal in the 70s. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, imagine getting that call what that would be like. And so obviously that's a lofty dream. But aside from that, just realistically, I ended up always just wanting to steer towards the independent route.
Yeah, that is something that you really do get with going indie publishing is you get the full creative control. On the flip side of that, it is all on you, which
Yeah.
is for some people a little much, especially if they have like a lot of things going on in their lives where they can't dedicate the time, the effort, the money to do these things because indie publishing is hard. But
Yeah.
I do agree that the control the control does make it easier to indie publish, but you have to
Yeah.
put a lot more effort into it.
Yeah, I agree, and I wouldn't say that there were times where I was stressed out during the process, but I definitely did get exhausted. I think that it might be a little bit better with future books coming out because it's this was my first book, and I mean, it was my first time, and even though I did the research and I'm really good with business stuff and I know, like, how to I generally know how to approach different things, it still was a whirlwind, and even up until, like, the last 3 months before, well, I guess right before I announced breaking in July, the month leading up to that, I thought, "Okay, I have everything pretty well buttoned up." And then it was like dozens of hours worth of time over the next few weeks working on perfecting my website, making it personalized for people who buy my book, making sure everything was set up the right way that I wanted to on my I mean, newsletters. And I mean, there's just so much stuff that I realized I needed to take care of that I hadn't. And so, yeah, it's a lot of work, but man, once didn't hit me, it didn't even hit me release day. It hit me a couple days after that when I had a stack of, I forget how many, like 18 or so books that I was shipping out. And I was, listening to music. My kids were up here playing video games and I was, boxing them up, and it hit me. I was like, wow, like half these people, are my friends and family that bought it, but then the other half are people that I don't know that have found me one way or another that want to read my book. And it just hit me that I kind of reached the dream. I'm not a professional, I'm not doing it for a living, but even just by publishing this one book, I've already hit my goal of what I wanted to do. So that felt really cool to be able to get to that point.
Oh, that's a beautiful moment. That's what we're all aiming for, or at least most of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm in the middle of that ramp up right now, where I'm like trying to build up the website, trying to figure out how to do a newsletter and all that stuff. Where it's like there's a million different things, and I have to learn to do them all.
So many different things. And now, again, now that I've
Yeah,
gone through it once, now it's a piece of cake if I want to send out a newsletter, if I want to update something in my store. But yeah, the first time you're right going through it, I don't know that stuff. You just have to
yeah.
learn it all from scratch. So definitely in the same boat with you. It's a big learning process.
I feel like that's the way with writing in general, though, and all the things around it is like you can read so much about it. You can get advice from a lot of people, and all that stuff is super helpful. But all of it is going to be second best to actually doing it.
Yep.
When you finally write the book, you're going to be better at writing the next book. When you publish a book, you're going to be better at publishing the other book because you have all of that experience under your belt now. I think a lot
Absolutely.
of people are afraid of that, but you just got to get in there.
And that's what I guess I never was too afraid of what people would say about my book. My book is very much, and maybe you can attest that you're halfway through. I would say mine is somewhat in the category of, if you like this kind of writing, I hope you enjoy this book. If you don't like this kind of storytelling, you might not. And I'm totally okay with that. My book is not meant to be on every person's bookshelf that has ever read a fantasy book. People are going to read my book, not like it, but I hope the people that do like it stick around and want to see my world grow and universe grow. Um, but yeah, it was a scary thing, uh, still being able to put it out there, just knowing, no book is perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. And as a perfectionist, that was really hard to kind of deal with. And even now, when I'm listening to my audiobook, I notice it especially when my narrator speaks something, and I'll right off the back, I probably notice more stuff than other people, but I'll think, "Oh man, like that just wasn't a well written sentence." But instead of getting discouraged by it, I just realized, well, that was a learning process. This first book, technically speaking, probably will be my worst book I ever write. And so it's just a learning process. Next time I'll be sure to do this a little bit better. Maybe take out some of these words, maybe switch the sentence structures around a little bit, tell the story better this way. So for every little cringe feeling that I get when I listen to my audiobook, I just know I'm going to be that much better off the next time around.
Oh, 100%. I hope Breaking is the worst book you ever write. That's
I
what
hope
you
so.
should hope for every person.
Yeah, the first book. I hope so too. So you heard it from our mouths. We hope that this is the worst book
Yes,
that you'll ever read from me. Onward and upward from here.
exactly. That's what you want for every debut because again, you learn so much just by doing. It's
Yeah,
definitely worth doing.
and actually I will say this, I think, and maybe this was a talking point you had, so I don't know, but one of the things that, I stressed over for about a day, but then I didn't. My audiobook is about halfway done, so my narrator's actually narrated most of the book. About half the chapters are uploaded right now on the platform, and it just didn't get done in time for various reasons. He was moving and also job stuff and just I think probably just my timeline. I didn't expect it to take that long. Again, just the going through it the first time. And, every single person that bought my audiobook or that I sent to, I gave them a free ebook copy. I just said, "Hey, apologies, it wasn't ready in time. Here's this free ebook though. I'll keep you updated on when other chapters get added. Just try to do the best I can." And I found that people, I just think are super, what's the word? Not forgiving, but just understanding of indie authors. Every single response has been, "Hey, like that's totally fine. Thank you for the book. Thanks for emailing me, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for letting me know." And I found that that's pretty true all the way around. People understand that like my book and audiobook are on book funnel, not Kindle, and people don't seem to complain. They like to see indie authors trying to pursue their dreams and their passions. And so that was just really awesome to see people kind of accepting that fact and that reality that I'm still, even though I have a book published and everything went mostly smoothly, I'm still stumbling along in other aspects to try to catch up to the game.
You're still a person. We all make
Yeah.
mistakes. We
Yeah.
can't foresee everything. Something I actually did want to ask you about with some of the business decisions that you made around your book. So you are doing everything through BookFunnel for your digital books, for your
Yep.
audiobook and for your ebook.
Yep.
And then your physical books, your hardback and your paperback, you are doing that yourself, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm printing them through Ingram Spark, but having them all
Hmm.
shipped to me, then I ship from me to anyone who wants to buy my book. Yeah, so that's the route
I
I
was
decided to
very
go.
curious why you decided to go this route instead of the what is traditional in
Right, in India,
indie publishing,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
just give it all to Amazon and just try to get as much as you can out of it. I was kind of curious about that.
Yeah, and I realize maybe in the short term, and I don't know if the short term means 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but that probably isn't a wise decision looking in that kinda short play. But the thing that I really wanted to establish is if someone buys my book from Amazon, they'll get it, they'll open it, it'll probably come out great, no hiccups, easily accessible, everyone has an Amazon account. However, there's nothing connecting me to that reader, and I really wanted something more personal involved. So, I decided to go the direct route. One, that means that I have access to if I for instance, like my audiobook being purchased, I emailed anyone right away and say, "Hey, I saw you just purchased this. Thank you so much for supporting me. Just want to let you know the rest of the book is coming out. Here's the free ebook copy." Same thing with the hardcover and softcover. When someone buys it, they get a personalized email from me to them saying, "Hey, thanks for your purchase. I really appreciate you supporting me. Your book will ship out this amount of time," so on and so forth. But then I also get to sign the book for them. I get to wrap it up in my own little way. It's nothing amazing. I'm not a gift wrapper. I'm probably the worst gift wrapper in my family, but I want people to, when they open up the book, I don't want it to just them getting a book. I want it to be experience and a connection with me. Even though I might not be there face to face handing it to them, I want them to feel as close as possible to that happening. And so again, just that personal connection with the reader, I think is extremely important. I would say the secondary aspect of it is I don't know what's going to happen with Amazon in the future or Audible and what their royalty structure is going to be, what they're going to promote, what they're not going to promote. And instead of just getting into that mess, I just wanted to again just take care of it all myself. And so kind of those two aspects, but definitely the most important one is having that personal connection with the reader. I will say, um, that will be a lot harder to do in the future, assuming that I end up selling more and more books, which is obviously the dream, right? That's the hope. So, 10, 15, 20 years from now, it might come to the point where I just can't do that because of the time constraint, unless maybe I'll put my kids to work and I don't know what the labor rates are for hiring your own son and daughter, but hopefully they're cheap.
Well,
but
maybe you can go by the farmer's route and you can just get them working by like 10 years old or something.
Exactly, that's the hope. But, so I'm not also, I'm also trying to think realistically where at some point I might need to stop doing that and maybe look at another route. I don't know what that would be, or maybe I can continue to do that and hire someone to. I also do the personalization, obviously, the signing, maybe a couple other designs or decoration on the packaging, but overall they print out the label, they box it up, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's kind of, and then also one thing, again, just another learning thing. I didn't think about the foreign markets. So what I did on my website is I did set up shipping to, I think, UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. I don't think I did Mexico. Um, and I set up it. Fortunately, the shipping is expensive. That's just how it is. But I figured if
Yeah.
someone really wants to, obviously, you know, what can I do about that? But I just didn't realize I was talking to Abel Montero. I don't know if you've talked with him before, or and so
Yes, yes,
I
I've
was
spoken with him. He's from Italy.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where he was going to give me some information, some helpful feedback on that. And one thing I just didn't realize was that in Ingram Spark, I could set up distribution in certain regions so that people could buy it from there at a much
Mhm.
cheaper rate. And again, that just is a workaround. What I'll have to do, I won't be able to sign my book and personalize it as much, but it at least gives people an option who lives in another country to be able to do that. So I'm definitely not, I don't have my sunglasses on. I'm trying to ignore the fact that I won't be able to have my hand on every single book. That's just a reality. But as best as I can, I like to stay engaged in person with it.
No, I love that. I did an unboxing of this book like literally earlier today, and I
Awesome.
was going
Awesome.
through it on the packaging, and I was like, "Oh, it's wrapped and everything." And I opened it up
Perfect.
and got my little signature right there from you.
Ah, excellent. Excellent. I'm glad
I
it
so
got
I'll be
to you.
frank. When
Yeah.
when I opened this up, I didn't realize it was like signed with ink. I was like, "How did he get a page in there with my name on it?"
Yeah, it was a pretty penny to be able to send you that book. Yeah,
Oh, well, thank
and
you.
I spent too much time trying to figure out what to write it in. I asked my wife, I said, "Do I do like what kind of pen? Do I do a small marker? What do I do?" And so I just used just a normal pen that I enjoy. So
Hey,
it
do
looked
your
like it came
thing.
out
Do
well.
whatever's comfortable.
Although I do it and I have to like blow on it 50 times to make sure it doesn't, wet the other
Yep.
side. But I'm glad it got to you all fine. And did you feel a personal connection with me in some way, opening that up
It
and
felt
seeing
very personal. It was
good,
it
good.
was hand wrapped, it had the twine around it, and then
Yeah,
I
excellent.
opened it up and I was like, "There's my name." It's
Excellent.
wonderful.
Now, sometimes I don't do I thought about this before. Sometimes I won't do a specific name if I'm signing
Mhm.
it to someone for 2 reasons. 1, sometimes I forget. I think I'll forget. 2, but then also, what if someone got it for, like, their kid or a gift and I didn't wanna mess it up? So, I'll I only try to actually sign a person's name if they ask for it, or if I know 100% sure this is who it's for, or again, sometimes I'm sure I will forget and I just won't do it. So,
That is very fair. But this one's for me. No one can have it, so get your own, people.
perfect. Perfect. You can maybe, I don't know, maybe not tape it, put it on the wall behind you so it can be your only book in your background for the
Oh,
foreseeable
there
future.
we go. There we go. We can just try to
There you
just stick it
there
onto the wall
there
back
you go.
there.
That's perfect. There
Purple
you
on
go.
blue. Don't wanna drop it. Now, someday I'll have shelves back there. I have plans to eventually put some wood up there and put some books on it. A bit ago, I put out to the internet. I was like, "Hey guys, I'm going to do bookshelves. What should I put up there?" And Mike Molman reached out to me,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was like, "How many of my books do you want?" And I'm like, "Mike, I need to save
Yeah.
room for other people, but I'll take a few."
There are other people out there that write books. I'm in the same boat though. My wife is actually we're putting in a she shed for her, and so a lot of the
Oh,
shared
nice.
den space will be rearranged, and I'm also gonna look to have either go all out and get, the custom wooden bookshelves in the back, or maybe the cheaper route at first. We'll have to see the price difference and what I want to spend.
I hear you. I've looked up like a lot of different videos on like what's better, just get a bunch of IKEA or make it yourself,
Yeah.
and the difference is not as big as I thought it would be. So
IKEA's
it's
behind
really just
me.
personal preference.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of, over the white. I wanna get the wood, but, I mean, I like the IKEA shelving. It's affordable, but it's held up very well, so can't complain.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like, hey, I'm not going to knock IKEA. When I lived in my
Yeah.
condo before I moved to this house, most of my house was IKEA. So
Were you one of those
it'll
people
get you.
that just went into IKEA and said, "I want that room," and then they just brought it to your house?
Actually, no. When we bought the condo, they had like remodeled it years ago, and the whole
Okay,
kitchen, all the bathrooms, they got everything from IKEA. And
that's cool.
I had never shopped at IKEA before, but I was like, I actually really like all of this.
Yeah, I like it. They're good. They're good.
Yeah. But getting back to yourself and your book, I actually had
Yes.
a question. So we talked about this a little bit off screen, but you've written a lot of stories before you got to breaking.
Yeah.
What was it about breaking that went, yes, this is the one that I'm going to take the distance?
Yeah, really good question, because I have written quite a bit in the past, and I always, I think pretty much every writer out there says this, like, just write your first book, put it out there, move on to the next, and go. And maybe I should have done that, but because again, you and I were kind of talking before, but uh Brandon Sanderson has his Cosmere universe. There's Stephen King has his own version of that, albeit maybe a little bit less specific and conjoining. But I kind of have my own form of that, except they actually do relate. I guess you could think of it more like Token, where he has the Cimmerillion, he has all these side stories, but they all take place in middle, well, maybe not necessarily Middle Earth, but his greater world and everything. And yeah, that world, they all interact. It's the same for me. So some of the stories that I wrote, I thought, okay, I really like this story to tell in my world. I think this will be fun. And then as I wrote it and got through it, I thought, yeah, it's not a bad story. Maybe I'll come back to it some other time, but this is not the first story that I want to tell in my world to bring people in. Breaking, for a number of reasons that I won't disclose, but a couple that I will. I think it fit perfectly. That I thought it was a good variety of characters for one. I think the story does a good job of bringing readers in, telling them a complete, contained story within this world, while also introducing people to some greater themes and elements that they'll be introduced in my other future books, to introduce them to the greater story going on. And I think the book offered a little bit of writing challenges for me. Just as a writer, I wanted to do some character emotions, some story beats I wanted to hit. So I just think overall, it was a well-rounded book to introduce, not just for me, but for also to my reader to get familiar with my writing and my world. And I guess kind of going along with that, not direct answer to your question, but because it popped in my head, the next four books I'm writing, the first five I'm writing are all standalone in that way. They all take place in a different place and time in my world. And they all kind of focus on something a little bit different, but they still all definitely very much relate to each other. And so each book you can expect still that epic fantasy feel, but they'll definitely have a different, I hope, convey a different feeling and story arcs in them, from one for another, to distinguish them from each other.
When you go to your website, you can see you have a progress bar or like a circle of all
Yes.
four books
Yeah.
actually. So I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool when I saw that.
I need to
Um,
update that. I need to update that.
hey, just there having it alone there is really good. Like your website is phenomenal. Like speaking as a software guy, it's great.
Well, good. I'm glad you like it. I'll do a little plug here. My buddy Steve, his team at North Mac Services, just did fantastic job. I'm fortunate to have him as a friend, and he and his team came in and did it, and they did, a good percentage of the work. And then again, I wanted to just kind of go in the perfectionist route and do it myself. I could have had them do all these little minuscule stuff towards the end, but then I thought, well, like, why don't I just learn how to do it? Again, just kind of wanting to personalize it. So I'm glad that really came across. I want people when they go to my website again to just have that feeling of, this is Alex's website. This is, his writing. It's got his touch on it. And so I'm really glad that you like the website, especially being a software guy, that I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
No worries. It drips with professionalism, I'm not gonna lie. And the art
Yeah.
like that you have all around it is just really good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
ah,
Thank you, Jeff,
like
again. I have a lot of people. I have a
I
good
cannot
supporting
sing
cast.
enough praise for him.
I almost feel like sometimes I'm the supporting cast for him, because people, that's one of the reasons why when I was deciding who to go for the cover for my book, I spent hours and hours and hours on it, and finally bit the bullet, reached out to Jeff, and he was gracious enough to say, yeah, take me on. And because I just knew, I mean, it's true, people judge a lot by the cover of the book. And so I didn't want people to get turned away from my writing because of a not even a bad cover, but just a mediocre cover, and it's done the opposite. If anything, this cover has brought people in and really attracted them. So definitely a good decision going with him on that.
That's one of the benefits of hiring Jeff Brown. Like we were saying earlier,
Mhm.
people will look at a book and be like, "That's a Jeff Brown cover,"
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
and
They
that
just
will
they just
attract
know.
people.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it kind of reminds me of audiobooks. Like
Mm.
people will now follow narrators where they will listen to a book. Like the greatest example I have is Michael Kramer and Kate Redding with Brandon Sanderson and
Mm,
Robert
yes.
Jordan books.
Yep.
So I would listen to all of those, and then I was like, what else have they narrated? I want them to tell me more stories. So now if you get like a good narrator, or if you get a good cover artist, you can attract people to your book through these other arts. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool, this community that you
absolutely.
can now build.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You're right. People do fall in love with, like we said, the artist or the narrator, and obviously the writer. And yeah, it's a good way to. And another really side benefit that I didn't expect to get, but I have, both from you, from Abel, from Jeff, especially Jeff starting out. I just didn't realize, not necessarily direct connections that it would bring me, but just the insight to things that I didn't know about indie publishing, about other projects going on. And just very quickly I felt wrapped into the industry. And because I never watched a lot of booktube things. I just never, I don't know, I just always kind of stick to myself. And it really wasn't until I announced my book in July that I actually decided, like, oh, I should probably watch some like booktube videos and like understand what's going on, how everything works. And so I'm very, very, very new to the scene. And it was just very helpful having Jeff and, like I said, you and others just help to kind of bring me in and show me the ropes in a way, I guess, make me feel welcome. So very, very thankful for that.
Hey, glad to have you. And honestly, that's how a lot of us get our introduction into like the book community and the indie publishing sphere. Like I will expand it more to like the reading and book community in general. It's just so welcoming. Like
Hmm.
it is crazy how easy it is to just reach out to people and be like, "Hey, I like this thing that you like. Let's talk about it." Or I have a question about this thing that you are knowledgeable about. Would you mind answering my question? And by and large, people have just been so welcoming, so ready and gung ho to be like, yeah, let's talk. I'm passionate about this. Let's do it.
Yeah, it
It's
was
so
very,
exciting.
very much different than, because I didn't know what to expect. It was very much different than like what you read on like the Reddit pages and elsewhere. I didn't know
Yeah.
if there would be like, and I'm sure maybe there is to a certain degree, but I just expected it to be a little bit more, okay, these people are kind of friendly to these people and this and that. But no, overall, it just seems like people just like to see other people get their book published. They're happy when a book reveal happens. They're happy. They're
Mhm.
just generally happy people who want to see other people be happy. And it's just very cool to see.
Yeah, we all just like good art. Like we're all just artists trying to
Mm.
pursue this, either this beautiful painting or this beautiful story that makes us feel a certain way,
Yeah.
and we're all just here in the pursuit of that. And like, yes, there are some bad actors. There are uh, areas of the community that can rub you the wrong way, but for the most part, a vast majority of it has been amazing. So, welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
doing like your own show as well. I'm excited to watch that take off. Has I think by the time this episode comes out, your episode with Abel would come out,
Yeah,
or
his
is it
came
out
out
already?
today. It came out
Okay,
8 hours ago or something like that. Yeah, so,
as
yeah,
of the
that's some
recording of this video.
yeah, so, and yeah, I wanted to, and it's not like I'm doing anything extremely original, it's, but I wanted to do something myself to just kind of lead conversations the way that I like to have conversations, kind of like what we're doing now, just very personable, conversational, and do the other person just to serve them well, right? So like Abel's video, he's got a big picture in the thumbnail, and
Mhm.
just I want people to find out more about this person. And I don't know, I just think that's a series. It's called Across the Realms. Again, nothing super original. I think there's other similarly named podcasts out there, and it's just something that's going to be ongoing. And I don't know, maybe yours truly might be on an episode one day. So
I would love to. We'll
so
make it
we'll have to
happen.
make it happen.
No, that sounds great. Uh, we've kind of like teased around this idea a few times in the conversation so far, but I wanted to ask you, at what point in making, breaking, or just writing in general and publishing, when did you feel that you were an author in that moment? When was the first time?
Um, I think there's different moments of that hitting, so I'll kinda go through each of them. The first one was when, because it's they all affected me in different ways. The first time was when my wife read through my book. She is someone, her and I, it's a perfect mesh we have. We have extremely different tastes, but we get along so well together. So we like doing things together, but like hobbies and interests are just very separate. So when she read this book, she likes the kind of mystery, murder mystery, suspense books like that. And I forget some of the authors she reads, but and I knew, especially my first draft, it was a rough. They say a rough first draft. Mine was a rough first draft, and she, man, what a trooper! She read through that, and um, she said all the points that she enjoyed about it, some things that she didn't, but she just said that she really enjoyed it and it made her want to keep reading, and she asked questions about it. And so that really meant a lot to me that, one, that she would take the time to do that for me, even though it's probably something she wouldn't normally read, but that she actually enjoyed it. Um, Another, my 2 biggest critics are also my 2 other core readers. My One of my good friends, Will, who I've been friends with forever, and then my dad. And they're both, they are very honest, very critical, not, will not shy away from telling you something wrong. And so they definitely had a lot of stuff for me to improve on. My dad was both very complimentary, also telling me stuff that he wanted fixed, but it meant a lot that he told me he enjoyed it. He said, "I don't know if this is a compliment or not, but your writing reminds me a lot of Stephen Donaldson's most recent writings." And if you read Donaldson, you kind of know what that means. He's changed his writing a little bit; it's a little bit more simplified, and so that just kind of meant a lot. I did take that as a compliment. Um, so just those kind of reinforcements, re-encouragements made me feel like I was actually doing something the right way. And then another really big moment, I was talking to Will, and I was kind of having doubts in my mind about if people would like my book, how good is it really, should I publish it? And I was talking about, I said, yeah, I guess it's okay for a first book, I'm going to put it out there, what can I do about it? And he said, "Well, no." He said, I there are some parts in your book that I still think about because it kind of affected me in a way that makes me go back and think about those certain points in the story." And that made me feel really good because really in the end, my goal is not to make the best fantasy book. I don't care about getting awards. Like, I don't even know most of the awards out there that people get. I know a couple, but I don't care about any of that. I want someone to read my book, and then at the end of it, I want them to get some sort of emotional feeling from it, whether it's with a connection with the character or the ending. If it can make them feel just something or anything, then I think that I've done my job. And so that's kind of what I want to do. And then the final one is kind of what I told you when it came a reality when I was wrapping up my books, getting ready to ship them out. I was like, wow, like people are going to be reading my book in a week or reading my book now that I have no idea who they are, but they want to read my thing. So those are kind of the 4 different ways that along the way kind of brought me up the ladder that made me feel like, oh, I am a published author now. Like this is something that I can say I do. So it's been kind of a dream come true. I didn't need a big book deal to do it. I just needed all these little small steps along the way. So
That is beautiful. Like, it is crazy how much stories can connect strangers together. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's part of what makes stories so good, and like fantasy in general, I think has a very special place for that, for bringing people together. Like, you could go up to a complete stranger and be like, "Oh, I've read Brandon Sanderson, I'm a fan." "Oh, you've read Brandon Sanderson, you're a
yeah.
fan." We now have like 30 years of stuff to talk
Right,
about.
exactly. And it's I suppose you could say this about nearly anything, but I'll say it about, reading, and obviously specifically epic fantasy and sci-fi is there's readers that enjoy this stuff in all walks of life, whether it's,
Yeah.
what political side you follow, what religion you are, what your thoughts are about, just whatever it is. There's readers who like Lord of the Rings from every walk of life. There's readers who like Brandon Sanderson from every walk of life. And so you're right, to your point, you can connect with so many people at different walks of life just because you enjoy a good story. And it can start a friendship or it can start a good interaction. And
Mhm.
it's a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, the reason they like stories is because they make us feel ways about things that we would have never experienced in our regular life. Like, I
Absolutely.
will never defend a wall with my dying breath, but I know what that feels like
Yeah.
because other authors have created these scenes and these characters that made me feel what they felt.
Yeah, isn't
That's just
that,
beautiful.
that's a again, I want someone to feel something when they read my book, and it's especially like, to your point is, how awesome it is to make someone feel something when they would never be able to experience something even like that close in life. Like I haven't, and I hope I never experience this, but I've never like lost a child in my life. But if I read a story and there's it's very well told and like this someone loses a child, I feel that because you can imagine it
Yeah.
happening and then you literally experience it reading a book. You can experience things 100% that you never otherwise would. And man, just what a cool feeling that is when you're reading a book and it can do that to you. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of speechless on just how stories transcend our actual reality around us and suck us into something totally different. It's really cool.
Absolutely agree. Like, I am not a father. My wife and I do not plan on having kids. I will never be a father. But there have been so many books that have just given me a sliver of a taste
Mhm.
of what that means. And it's absolutely wild that you can live all these lives that you have not lived.
Yeah.
Ugh. We could rant. This is
Cool
a
stuff.
whole
Yeah,
subject
it
of
is a whole
like
subject.
a
Yeah.
3 hour talk that we could definitely do.
We'll record a third episode and then a fourth,
There
and
we
then
go.
that's how we solve that.
Uh, but something I did want to ask you about though
Yeah.
is a little bit about your process. So you talk about in some of the updates on your own channel and like through social media and stuff like that about the challenges of maintaining consistency while
Mhm.
drafting, breaking, and just
Yeah.
getting through the process. So I was wondering what strategies helped you push through these difficulties of consistently putting in the effort.
I mean, it really comes down to, like, discipline, and I don't have that all the time. There are some times where I don't have the discipline, but if I sit down, it's about forcing myself to be in that position to write. Even if I don't feel like it, if I'm tired, if I force myself to sit down, if I force myself to open up my iPad and open up my book and start writing, I'll have a good writing day. Even if it's not the best writing day, I'll write something. If I don't sit down, I'm not going to write anything. So it's about that first decision. It's not about, oh, I can write this many words or oh, I can write this specific part of the story. It's just sitting down and writing something. So the consistency aspect, again, I'm definitely not perfect with it, but I notice definitely get the most writing done, even if I just do small amounts at a time, and then they just add up over time. It was definitely very hard, especially like my second book right now. Second book is going very well. I'm still on track to have that released next September. So a book a year is my goal anyway. But it was kind of hard for me to keep up with that during Breaking's release simply because I was up till 1, 2 in the morning working on my website. I was, doing all this extra stuff. So it definitely fell to the wayside a little bit. But even then, like I needed to write, 200 words or 100 words, or heck, even if there's a day where I was exhausted and couldn't take it, I just open up my book and read the last couple pages I did just so it's fresh in my mind. So again, definitely something I'm not perfect with. I want to be more disciplined with it, but it's just a matter of doing that first step, opening up my iPad, getting open my book, and setting a time to do that.
No, that's excellent. Like so much of that kind of just reminds me of going to the gym. You just have to
Yeah.
show up because once you're there, you might as well do things. But
Yep.
showing up is really the hardest part. And it's the same thing for writing. Like you just have to put yourself in that position, whatever mind trick you need to do, light a
Yep.
candle, whatever routine,
Yep. I think
and
you
just
and
get yourself in
I
the mode.
I think you and I were talking about this. I think it was you and I. We both like the saying, like, we always overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can do in a year. And I love that saying
Yes.
because it's right. You think, oh man, like, okay, today's the day. I don't know about you. I'm definitely a planner, like down to the hour. So like this hour I'm going to do this hour I'm going to do that and that. And then if I don't get it, I get stressed out, and then I'm like, oh well,
Yep.
I failed today. But if I just did a fraction of that much, if I did 20% of what I did, if I just wrote 200 pages a day. Yeah, that's going to be a slower process, but in the end, I'm still going to have a book over a certain amount of time. It's going to
I
get
think you
done. It's going to
definitely
happen.
met 200 words.
When I say pages, I do that all
You
the
said
time.
200
I'll
pages.
I'll come down in the seriously every day. every day I'll come down and I'll tell my wife, I'll say, yeah, I wrote 100 pages or like 500 pages today. She'll say, what? And it's
Wow.
every time. There's never a time where I don't say that. So, but yeah, it's just, again, it's just about consistency. And we very much underestimate, like a year ago, my first draft was, man, yeah, my first draft was done. I was just starting my second draft, going through it and having my wife read it. And now a year later, like I'm published. Back then I was stressing out about the day to day, but a year later it's here. So it's about the consistency in knowing that long term, you don't have to stress about the long term. It'll just happen if you just do simple day to day stuff.
No, 100%. Like, that's a life lesson that you can carry into every aspect of everything that you do until the day that you die. Like,
Yeah,
just a little
absolutely.
bit of effort consistently will get you everywhere that you want to be.
100%.
I absolutely love that. All right. We are coming towards the end
Oh,
of
wow.
our episode.
Yeah, we
I
are.
know, like, it
It
always
goes
goes
by
way
fast.
faster than
Yeah.
I expect it. But Alex, could you tell the people where can they find you and where can they find your books?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one place you can get it, jalexgiguere.com, J and then Alex, my last name, Giguere, jalexgiguere.com. And again, I have a free, also I have a free, the first 2 or 3 chapters of the book are out there for free. You can read. I want you to get a taste for if it's something that you like. If you don't like it, then don't buy the book. That's totally fine. If you like it, it's there for you to get a taste of it. You can buy the hardcover, soft cover, ebook, audiobook, sign up for my newsletter. And I also have a contact form. If you just want to talk about anything you want to, feel free to submit that and I'll talk with you. But yeah, that's where you can reach me. And I also have my YouTube channel, J Alex Giguere or J Alex Giguere/author. And if you dig around, you'll find it. I forget where it is on my hand. Maybe you'll link it. Maybe you'll be kind of link it in the comments or the description.
Everything will be linked down in the
Perfect.
description below.
Thank
We'll be
you.
able to find all of these. I
Thank you, Michael. You
promise.
got me. Thank you.
Of course. Yes, and don't worry, folks. We will be back again with Alex next week as we're going to be digging into world building with his process, what he did with breaking, and what he might be coming along with the future. But Alex, thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
Of course. And until next time, folks, let's be author adjacent together. See ya.
See ya.
All right.
That was
A
good.
natural.
That was perfect.
Despite our technical difficulties, that went well.